Hello, friends. How are you? Okay, so continuing the series. Last game was against Rapport, and there was a can and some kind of B4 A4 fixing the structure on the queen side, which kind of just rang a bell of this game I played against Chuchelov. So Chuchelov, for those who don't know, is considered the best trainer in the world. Now they come up with these titles. I mean, how you could have a point of reference like that, I have no idea. But he's been training guys like Rajabov and others. Um, I take it with a pinch of salt, even like the Dvoretsky's and stuff. I mean, they're mostly good at self promotion. But I'm not saying that he's not a good trainer. I'm just saying like I don't like the best in the world kind of these ostentatious quantifications that you can't that there's no way of really measuring anyway. So we're going towards the same opening the can now. For those wondering why I play this knight c3 before d4, to be honest with you, it's actually kind of funny because uh Vlad Kachev, I took a week intensive training with Vlad Kachev, and that's that week that we had the idea of doing the chess magic camps in Serbia. So of course, the Skopje the next one is in the 5th to the 12th of March. For those who don't know, with an extension till the 16th, go on the website. The link's in the description. Okay, meet us there, right? So to get go back on track. We were doing this training camp, just me and Vlad, and he kept on telling me, "Why are you always playing this knight c3 before d4? What's the deal with that?" And I told him, "What, you don't know? Like, if you play knight c3 first, basically, it means that you don't have to deal with the pin variation, right? This variation, it just doesn't exist, right? The best that black can do if you play knight c3 first is if he wants to transpose to that is to play knight f6, in which case you could play e5 and you're going back to a Nimzo Sicilian, right? This Sicilian, which would transpose after, let's say, something like this, right? So I told him that, and he was just like totally skeptical. Like, why would anybody want to avoid the pin variation? And then he showed me a game where he just crushed somebody like when he was 12 years old or something. But for me, it's just something less to learn, and that's just the way of course, if it really is that bad, it's better probably to learn it and to allow people to try and test you. But there's so much stuff to know. Anyway, a6, d4, queen c7. So last game we saw b5 against Rapport. This is more principled, I would say, and knight f6. So this is the main line. It's obviously not the only move. There's knight c6, there's e5 now, and there's other stuff. And I played castle. Now these days I don't believe in this at all. Although it's the most played move in this position, still I think that these days everybody, well, I don't know, the top level, let's say, has a preference for this. And if d6, which is the main, I mean, it's not the only move again, right? I mean, openings are very complex, and I don't want to make this series about openings. But let's say bishop b4 is a possibility. I had a great game against Branko Damjanovic on this, where I copied the game of a 2300 who beat Karpov. So if you find a Karpov loss with black after this bishop b4 in the database, it's a very nice game. And there's also, I think, a Grichu Caruana reference game on bishop b4. You could also play b4, e4, and it gets messy, right? That's another possibility. But let's say the normal down-to-earth move is d6 controlling e5, right? f4 has got the idea of playing e5. So d6, and now you're not going to castle short, you're going to play queen f3, and you're going to play for castle long. So for example, something like this, g4, and bishop b3. Now here there is a point to note if you are going to play this, just to you know, to make it worth your while looking at the opening a bit. If you go too fast with this, the problem is if he gets here immediately, you won't have the time to castle long anymore, right? Because if you castle long, he's going to take on d3 and play b4, and you're going to be pinned, right? So just to make the point very clear, you're not going to be able to take with the pawn, right? That you do want to do, because it solidifies the center and it makes you do your push, because here there's going to be b4. So you're going to have to take with the rook, etc. So if you are going to play it, here, stop to think and play bishop e3 first. And now you can go for that, and you've got time. Because knight c3, you got king b1, and there's no more that threat, right? You can just take with the pawn, and b4 you'll move to e2 or someplace. Okay, so that was for the small digression on the opening. I played it old school. I played it castle. This was 2009. This game happened. f4, and this is all kind of, you know, there's different move orders to get to the same thing. You know, he's going to play knight d7, bishop e7, bishop d7, whatever move order, and so here you got the choice. You know, you can play rook au1, but as I said, this b4 move cropped up again, like in the rapport game. Except for here it's kind of, it was considered at least really good, right? These days I think the computer kind of gives equal, because it gives equal in everything. So castles a4. It's always the same story. And here he's more or less obliged to take, and knight b6. And so here there's the first point of, like, this is kind of the first mistake. It's more imprécision, you know, it's not very precise what I did. I wouldn't say it's dubious either. It's just not the best move. Now, for a long time we thought rook a1 was the best, just going back. These days the computer actually puts rook a3 to be the best, which is kind of a bit weird, because after d5 you kind of lined up the you know, in that bishop scope sort of thing. Rook a1 and something like this was the way things were going. And you had that kind of attack or something or other, something to this you know, on that wavelength. So I played to a5, and to be honest with you, it really was again a bit of magical thinking on my. I thought, like, you know, I really deserve a pat on the back because I'm playing so well. I'm playing a grandmaster, and you know, and I'm not feeling the pressure. I'm feeling that he's under pressure. So you're getting to that point, and then so your mentality goes a bit flimsy, right? Your muscles, you know, they've been tense, and then all of a sudden, you know, you kind of drop, like, oh, I deserve a pat on the back, and let's just pretend, you know, let's behave as if we're playing good moves instead of actually trying to look for the complete stuff. So I was thinking, okay, here I'm obstructing the pawn; it can't move forward. I'm preparing maybe the other rook to come in one day, and I wasn't really looking for the truth, because that rook on a5 can become kind of a target if he's going to be taken on before. So it's not very precise. e5, he plays here. Now if he takes, it does seem to me that there is going to be something on the king side here. I didn't even check these lines before showing you the game, but I'm guessing something like bishop takes h7, king takes, queen h5 check, comes back, and then simply queen g5. That's typical. I have also a great game that I won that way against Shimin Nguyen. But I'm not here to show my wins, only my losses, right? I mean, this is really tough. This is really tough on the spirit, right? You know, I so much want to reference my wins, but hey, you know, this is therapy. So yeah, right. This definitely is going to make g6, queen h6, and make this coming up. So he doesn't have time for that. He comes to e4, and I kind of I get this pawn, because might as well, e4 is going to remain weak. And so that happens. And so, okay, I have to be doing okay. Now, the computer in this day and age says it's completely equal. I believe that even the computer back in the day, like over 10 years ago, did kind of agree that white was better, right? So he was agreeing with like the human evaluation. I say human because even if, let's say, we were analyzing, maybe we would have not, found black to be fine. But when we were playing the game, I thought I was better, and he definitely felt under pressure. And the proof of the matter is that here he's going to play a move where the computer is going to disagree, and I am going to be objectively better. But maybe here there's nothing wrong. Like he could play a move like knight e5, or he could make even a move like g6, and like he's actually okay. Like his pieces are sufficiently compensating. Like everything's blockaded, and I'm not actually doing all that much. So my extra pawn, right? I do have an extra pawn, right? 6 against 5, yeah. Plus he's got a weakness there. It's kind of immaterial for now. Now, if he tries to, he can't do everything, right? He can't go, all in sort of thing. He still has to be careful. If he takes here, right, overcharge of the pawn, he will fall upon trouble. There will be trouble because that bishop on e3 is obviously defending against all kinds of mates. So I would, win something here, and there's the back rank for black too, right? So he can't. He still has to remain careful, but he played e3 here, and it does seem to be like a very purposeful move. Except for okay, I just took, and yeah. So here, so okay, in my defense, right? Hang on, I'll just grab a drink because it's Friday night, so I got a bit of a Aperol and Monster. This is my personal cocktail. So here in my defense, so we were playing in the Coupe de France, so it's the French Cup. We were like in quarterfinals, and it was Mo Boval against Evry, yeah. And so Maxime Vachier-Lagrave was on first board for Evry, playing against my coach of today, who is Andrei Chekachev. And the two in the middle for us, which was Fabrice and Sébastien Luce, they both lost. And so it was kind of like if we had to, we could still win the match because if there's 2-2, it's the first board that counts, right? And if it's a draw on first board, then it's the second board that counts. And Andre was doing really well against Maxime because it was before Maxime had that kind of switch where positional chess became his thing. At some point, he really was just like calculation machine. And Andre's positional style kind of it was difficult for Maxime because his calculation would just spin and not find the right approach. So we were kind of counting on him winning, which meant that if I won, we would actually win the match. So here, I kind of thought that if I played this, it was the best move, but it was going towards a draw. And so I rejected it, which is kind of really stupid because actually, supposedly, it's even better. So like I would take, and then if he does that, I don't know. I guess I thought that he would just take the pawn. I guess I was just counting because here, I mean, it's kind of easy to see that white is actually quite a bit better. I could probably this has to be winning kind of easily, right? So I don't know. Here is a first mistake. It really is a silly kind of mistake. Just I don't know. So anyway, what I did do was I took here, and I thought, yeah, well, this at least it has to be better for white because I've got. I mean, I can't lose it, right? I mean, That sounds paradoxical now that I say it. But I've got rook against 2 pieces, and I got 2 pawns for it. So I'm up on material. Like objectively speaking, I should be better. Plus, I have a passed pawn. Anyway, I played more or less correctly up to a certain point, right? So all this is kind of normal. And here I'm gonna make a terrible, terrible mistake. So that's that's the business we're in. I have to kind of embrace this now as the mistakes of the heroes of the show, of this show. So, okay, what did I do and what could I have done better? Right? What put on pause, try and figure out this position for yourself, and what would you do? Okay, so basically, it seems that like black is coming back in the game, like he's managing to make his pieces play. Like knight d5's already come back in. Maybe the bishop will get to c5 or something, and he's putting pressure on that f4 pawn. And it seems that white just hasn't been able to move forward. So that was the impression I was getting. I was just sort of not making any progress. And now that he's putting pressure on f4, I kind of psychologically cracked. The truth of the matter is that the f4 pawn simply isn't attacked because you can't take with the queen, and if he takes with the knight, g2 is protected, and it just allows that pawn to run free, right? That knight on d5 is still putting the b6 square under surveillance. So here it's a kind of I could have, I mean, this position objectively speaking is just equal. I could have tried to move like e6. Now e6 falls upon f5, and it's probably nothing special. I could have played a move like f5, right? But then again, it wouldn't be to take the pawn. It's not particularly attacking anything. But I could have just played a move like h3, just giving some breathing space for the king, and it remains equal. And I don't know, just not doing anything that's going to compromise the position. I played this move, and for some of you, you're going to think, "Wow, okay, no big deal," but it is a huge weakening of the king. And I know it could be difficult to understand for some. Obviously, I played the move, so it was difficult for me to understand it, and I was already, in the 2200 zone. But there's just too much draft around the king now, and so whatever I'm going to be doing with my pieces, there's always going to be a threat for my king. So just to see how this played out. I'm not. It's not over. I could still defend this position, but after this, I believe this is just a terrible move, and now it's just absolutely lost. He played check. There's an even better move, which is bishop c5. This is a little bit too crafty. You'd have to see also knight d2 here, with knight f3 coming. So you can't take the knight, obviously. Bishop g1 check, right? And I'll let you see the rest. But kind of not necessary anyway. He played check, check, and he's just picking up. And I know I'm going to lose here, and yeah, what can I say? So yeah, weakening of the king. But for me, the main regret remains that knight f5 move. Like here, it was a long time ago, but all I can remember was that like I believed it would be too equalizing, whereas actually it probably gives a lot more chance than the move I did play. Okay, there you have it. That was my game against Chuchelov, 2009. in Châlons-en-Champagne, I believe. Okay. See you for the next episode. Take care.